Oh, hi! This week, today, this month, I have no idea how long this is gonna take me. I am finally gonna sew through the stretch book. So I've had this book since just before the pandemic started because I got it from the library, and it is July, like mid to late July that I am filming this. And the two libraries that I use, understandably, don't want everyone's cooties back in house. I've been very, very privileged that I've been able to have this book and another sewing book and like some audiobooks that I haven't finished any of for literally months without any repercussions. And I've just been not doing this because I don't think I have all the fabric for all the projects. That doesn't mean I can't do the projects that I do have fabric for. I have already traced and cut out all of the pattern pieces, so let me get my fabric bins out. I also have some other stashes that I hide fabric because I am a hoarder, but I'm on a sew my stash year, so we're working through it, and there is slightly less than there was at the beginning of the year. Do you want to show your chicken? He is quite literally being a mother hen to all of these toys, where if he is in the bedroom with me, he will bring them all in from his bed in the shop one by one until he has them all in his little blanket nest, and then he will like sit on top of them as if he's incubating little tiny eggs. It is the weirdest shit I've ever seen a dog do, but also the cutest shit I've seen a dog do. I think I found all the fabrics I'm gonna need, and I'm gonna have to get pretty innovative with it, but I think this is gonna work out. For the BB skirt, I'm gonna take time, disassemble this coat here, which I know won't get me all the pieces I need. I have this thicker and more substantial chunk of black knit fabric, and actually I have to say this t-shirt is not super stretchy, so I think this will actually be usable. Woof, y'all, it is the next day. It's almost 8 o'clock at night. Let me tell you, I unpicked that striped thing, and it was very well made, so there were a lot of things to undo. The one upside of thrifting shittier clothes is that they come apart very easily, which I mean is part of the problem and why it is called fast fashion, because it's literally supposed to be disposable, but this was well made and I still destroyed it, and I'm not using it for this project. I have every piece though. It is in my knits bin. But let me show you the fabric piles of what I ended up with. This is my Stella jogger set, so the sweatshirt and the sweatpants, and I'm gonna do this bright turquoise teal for the linings for the pockets as well as the linings of the hood. I thought it would be a fun mousel from the Wuzzles inspired leak. Does anyone else remember the Wuzzles? Like Bumble Lion and shit? Mousel was my favorite. Oh, so good. This is my fabric for the BB skirt. It is actually just that Planet Fitness shirt I hung up. I was able to get all of the pieces out of that. The Freya dress cut out of black and purple velvet. I had to kind of fudge some bits. I had to get creative with the cutting process. So the skirt, instead of 2 pieces cut on fold, I had to cut 4 separate panels, but it's gonna make a little jazzy bit in the front I'm excited about. We'll see how it goes. I did also have to cut it out in a way that the fabric nap is not pointing the same direction in all manners, but not entirely sure I'm gonna end up wearing this dress anyway. It's just gonna be good to test, but we'll see. I don't know, but I think it's gonna be a little bit of a tits out situation. I don't mind low cut things, but we'll see. Oh, just kidding. That's the Joni dress. This is the Freya sweater. There is a dress option, but I went with the sweater, and I got all the fabric out of this. For the cowl neck, because I'm going with the cowl style, it does say to cut out 2 pieces, but because I'm using reversible fabric, I wanted to utilize that, so it's just 1 layer. I also only had enough to use 1 layer, but is kind of the point of me wanting to use this fabric, is to have both sides showing. For the Frankie shirt, I'm so excited. This is actually an old scarf that I cut up for the sleeves and the neckband, and I cut up the shirt as suggested by Fawn, I believe, was telling me that she went through this book and did the Frankie shirt and now does it to like all of her t-shirts. And Amanda P sent me the best shirt. It's so cute. It's ferrets doing small business, and they have pink striped neckties, so I thought I would tie it in with the pink striped scarf bits. See, there's some kind of method to the madness sometimes. I'm honestly just really pumped. I finagled away to try all of these projects with at least most of what I need. I had to make some accommodations, like the BB skirt is a little shorter, and yeah, otherwise just had to get real resourceful, but that's kind of my bread and butter, is it not? I mean, some of this fabric, I don't even want to think about how long I've had it, so the fact that it's getting used, it's gonna see some type of life. Worst case scenario, it can get moved into the stuffing pile bin and there's really no loss to the situation. I'm excited. I am going to rest, finally, get some fucking food, because normally I have eaten dinner and am ready to go to bed by this point in the evening because I'm forever old. All right, good morning. I'm not turning the studio lights on because it's too damn hot already and it's like 10 a.m. Time for the BB skirt, baby. I think because of her example is why I desperately wanted to have stripes, and I like the color blocking. So if I like how this comes out, I can keep it in mind in future when I'm thrifting and the like. I have the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Reunion cast table reading, which is bringing me immense joy. I've got my coffee Yeah, I will see you on the other side of this. Y'all, first skirt is made. Honestly, I could have done it in under an hour had I not gotten distracted by internet videos. But also it's Saturday and I'm being nice to myself and just having fun with this. Damn, this was so quick to put together. Here's an issue I am seeing though that like I'm barely getting away with. There's no closures, so you're just using the elastic of the waistband and the skirt itself to get in and out of it, but the problem being my waist is about 10 inches smaller than my hip. I could feel some of the seams like pop a little bit. Just something I could see being an issue if there is any wider discrepancy between your waist measurement and your hip measurement. But overall, I actually don't mind how this looks on. I'll do a little wrap-up photo shoot filming bit at the end once all the things are made. The thing that I got most excited about is I used a twin needle for the first time. Never used one, and honestly I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to do, but once you have the twin needle in your machine, it's just adding a second spool of thread and you do a straight stitch. Way less daunting than I thought. It was so simple. Had one laying around. I'm not even sure I was using the right one because they do make ballpoint ones and there are varying widths, which I didn't know about until reading into this book. I just thought it was like kind of one standard thing. It's made me interested in getting different types and trying them out. I'm jazzed. Definitely a worthwhile project. It's super comfortable. Only complaint, it doesn't have pockets. I don't think it'll be a good idea to add any because it's gonna make it droop if I have like my phone on one side kind of a thing. I'm gonna read through the make it your own section because she gives some options for like a seam split kick plate, and there is a pattern piece for like a pinafore and then some little tabby bits, which is super cute that there's a pinafore option. Maybe out of those striped sections that I put all that effort into taking apart and then adding black straps. Ooh, you know what? Interesting. I'm gonna work through the other projects and then circle back to this because I think that would be really fun actually. Okay, back to reading and then snack time and then on to the next project. Y'all, I figured out how to do mitered corners. It took a little trial and error. Had only you seen the flailing that just happened. Very cool. Next on the cutting table is the Frankie baseball t-shirt, which I've actually never inserted raglan sleeves, so I'm pumped. Okay, so at least at this point in the evening, I'm going to make a stylistic decision and not hem the sleeves. They're rolling over on themselves and I don't want them any shorter. Fawn, you were right. I love this very much. And the twin needle action with the contrasting thread, I'm so in love with twin needles now. Okay, it's the next day. I have my studio lights on just for you all, but they are getting shut off the second we are done here because it's going to be atrociously hot again today. And my body just can't deal with it like it used to. So what better day to make this sweater dress? Well, I'm doing just like the short sweater situation, not short. You get what I mean. I'm not making it into a dress. Though depending on how this goes, I would like to make it a sweater dress down the line. Yeah, I'm doing it with the cowl neck modification and I'm gonna stabilize the seams. Well, not all the seams, but the shoulder seams, which I've never done before. I don't know that this fabric needs it, but I still want to try it just so it's in my brain and I can see how it goes. But look, I found the perfect ribbon to go with this. I'm really here to embrace my love for stripes and spookier outfits. I don't know, I was a Hot Topic kid in high school and that feels very young to me, but also it makes me very happy, and there's so little things that bring joy into our lives these days, so why the fuck would I steer away from any fashiony things that I enjoy? Also, yes, I'm eating yogurt out of the tub because it's the last portion of it and I don't feel like dirtying another dish. So I'm waiting for the iron to heat up so I can press down the neck seam that I just stitched in. I did end up doing a French seam on the two connecting edges of the cowl. Since it's a single layer, you're gonna see both sides. Otherwise there would be like one side with raw edges. And then I stitched down the flappy bit of the French seam, if that makes sense. If you've done them, you know what I'm talking about. I am already ready for a nap and I have barely started my day. So I was reading the rest of the chapter while I was waiting for the iron to heat up, and she even suggests making a sleeveless version. If I can, I'm gonna make some kind of trim out of this because it has stretch to it. I think it'll work for a bias binding, and I would like to add more of this stripe side detail to the rest of the garment since it's really only showing on the inside of the cowl, which can get folded out so it's more exposed, but I think it'll tie it together a little bit more, as well as possibly edging the cowl with it. I'm debating alternating between hemming it or adding bias binding around that. All right, Freya check-in. Love my tweaks with it, actually. I'm here for this. I also like that I could wear longer sleeves situation underneath this. This makes me feel like very badass. But yeah, I just have one more row of top stitching to do to hold the seam allowance down right along here. So I'm going to use the twin needle for that. I'm into this. This is hitting me exactly at the right spot because I have broad shoulders. That's what the bias binding looks like. It's a little bulky and it's very hot. It's supposed to feel like over 100 today, so I don't want this on my body anymore. I have one more row of stitching and then I'm done. Some things went awry for me this morning, so I didn't get to focus on this first thing like I'd hoped. But I would also say this is probably about an hour of work, and it's making me so happy and wanting to make all the things that these work up so fast. Because some of the woven projects I've been working on, it is more involved because there are dart placements and you gotta fuck with the arm size. And yes, this would have taken a little longer if I added sleeves, but I mean, I made bias binding and then attached it, so I don't know that it took that much longer. And I did a bunch of extra work for the cowl that didn't need to happen, but I really wanted to really utilize the double-sidedness of this fabric. And this feels a little Mad Maxy. I like it a lot. This has been fun to put together, and I, much like the other stuff I've made, want to make other versions now. Okay, it has fully been 2 weeks since I've been able to work on any of this, and I'm desperate to work on the next projects. I'm clearly enjoying it, if that's the case. And I remember this happening with the Love at First Stitch one. I'm curious if like non-Tilly project books will give me the same ferocity with which I want to get through the projects. I did have a little bit of downtime before a video call sometime in the past 2 weeks, so I did take the first skirt apart, that BB skirt, and I did make a pinafore bit out of that thing I spent forever unpicking. I mostly needed to justify how many hours I spent unpicking that. So I'm going to reassemble this and press it out, and then we're getting into the Stella hoodie and joggers. I think we start with the hoodie first and then into the joggers. So I've done hoodies before and onesies that can be altered into hoodies. Upcoming Etsy news this fall. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to hit the 90s today, so I'm not excited to try these on once they're made, but you know, it will serve me well come wintertime, unless I hate the entire thing. Okay, Stella hoodie check-in. Very nearly finished, although I do think I'm gonna add the kangaroo pocket that was suggested, because what is a hoodie without a kangaroo pocket? I had everything pretty much done last night and then realized that the sleeves were too short. I'm really glad I tried it on. I still need to hem the bottom, but I think the length will be fine once I serge the edge and fold it up once or twice. The only issue I had, although I'm not at all surprised because this is the case with literally everything long sleeve, is that they were too short for me. So I took the cuffs back off and I'm just going to double them in length and recut them. Rather than being this long, it'll be doubled over and be this width, so be 4 inches long. So I gotta cut 8-inch pieces. All right, this is what the cuffs look like now, and I'm so glad I made longer ones. I hate being so long. So I am adding the kangaroo pocket. I have it hemmed down here. I figured it would be easier to add this. It does say to do it before you even sew up the sides, but I already did that part, so screw it. So I'm just lining this up at a reasonable height for my hands to like tuck into, but also so it's not interfering with the hem. And actually this is not working out, so maybe I just need to measure up and then maybe like chalk a line across here and then a parallel one up here. So I'm trying to help myself like keep it straight. There is a little bit of a crease from where the fabric was folded originally when I was cutting out the front, so it's going to help me keep it lined up evenly left to right along the y-axis, x-axis, one of the axes. Quick little pro tip from someone who's clearly a professional: when you are attaching a pocket to something, perhaps do not stitch closed the part where your hand goes. A little insider know-how for you. Oh my goodness, I did pockets. Once again, I have really big hands. The world's tiniest wrists and absolutely massive hands. So I do wish I had made the pocket bag bigger. Oops, let's get you in frame. But it's also stretchy fabric, so not the end of the world. I've never done pockets like this before. I actually want to use this in a skirt pattern to see how it comes out, having it go down like this, because I like the idea of having a pop of different color. I do have a different color lining right here that matches the hood lining of the hoodie, and this was much less daunting and actually very satisfying to put together. I thought it was going to be scarier, and wouldn't you know it, not actually that bad. I think the rest of this is going to go together pretty quick because the pants are only 4 pieces plus the cuffs and the waistband. Let's see. Actually, I'll time it. Ready? 11:21. I'm going to not do anything else and just focus on this and then see where I land at the end. I do have to add buttonholes to the waistband, which may be tricky because my machine is not liking doing buttonholes on sweatshirt fleece. I probably have to do my own sets of zigzag stitches. It's actually not that complicated. You just do 2 rows of skinny zigzags next to each other with a little gap in between, and then you do wider zigzags at the top top and bottom to do like bar tacks almost. And then you can get your buttonhole together. So if you don't have a buttonhole foot or something, you can jerry rig it. Y'all, it is exactly 12:22. It is an hour later and the pants are done, baby. Well, oh, I lied. I have to put the drawstring in the casing. There is also elastic up here going everywhere. I'm gonna finish these 100%, go to the store, and then we will jump into the last project. I am excited because it's a dress. I think I'm gonna have strong feelings either way. I'm either gonna really, really like it or really, really hate it. Okay, it is the same day I finished the hoodie and the pants. I did 2.5 today. I spent half a day on the hoodie prior to this, and I think like 1 day each for the other ones, you know, while doing other stuff. Today was pretty dedicated to knocking the rest of these out, so I feel very lucky that I got the chance to do it, which I will never be over the fact that I get the opportunity to do stuff like this. Y'all have my patrons to blame for me getting to take this kind of time. They are literally funding my ability to take time to make stuff like this. They're the best. I am just stupidly lucky that so many people care so hard about me trying to better myself and my skills. Anyway, as for the Tits McGee dress, I don't hate it. It's fitting kind of weird here, but honestly, all the other photos in the book, it's fitting kind of weird here. The twist is cool. I wasn't sure how this was gonna work out. Now, the problem with empire waisted things is that I find them very unflattering, and like I think that's just the general consensus for a lot of empire waisted stuff because it hits here when things are cinched in at my natural waist, because your empire waist is kind of under your boobs, but if you do your natural waist, then any flaring out that happens covers this bit. At least for me, I tend to avoid this cut. It's supposed to be one like flat panel across, but I was running out of velvet, so I did have to split it, so that's why I have a purple panel, but it is just black on the back, and I feel like I'm living my best spooky bitch life in this. Get to lean even harder into making Halloween months and months early. I still have a little bit of the book to read, but it's just kind of some notes and some resources for other stuff. She does have these very sweet like lifestyle notes, and then there's also a little like book suggestion for other project books. I have like 2 pages left to read, and then I have finished another book, and I'm so happy that I got to set aside time to work on this because I once again learned a ton. That BB skirt, I've never made a knit skirt like that before, and I did add the pinafore bit. That was super fun to put together. I've never used a twin needle before, so learning how to use that was such a fun thing to try out. What a game-changing tool. Oh my gosh. It completely elevates that entire skirt, because otherwise, you know, it's out of a cut up old t-shirt, but it doesn't look like it to me. Then there was the Frankie T-Shirt, which I added the raglan sleeves to, and I've never done a sleeve like that before, and I am already thinking of so many other shirts I want to do that to, as Fawn told me I would, and yeah, you're 1000% correct. I am very, very jazzed to do this to a lot more things. I don't necessarily like the bottom of the shirt, but I can just ignore that on the pattern. Also, I've never attached a neckband like this, but I really like it, and especially because I used a striped scarf, and it matches their little neckties, and I can't handle how cute this shirt is that Amanda sent me. As for this sleeveless Freya sweater, I love the cowl neck. I love cowl necks anyway. I'm really happy with my fabric choice. I'm glad I made some stretch bias binding, and I will definitely be making more versions of this with different fabrics as I find them. I think this is going to be the one I wear the most out of all of the things that I made in this book, especially in the spring and fall. I am just obsessed with it. It's so good, and I can layer it in so many ways, though not right now because it's hot as a motherfucker. This Stella outfit, oh my goodness. I love that I made the cuffs longer. Love that I added the kangaroo pocket. I do like the hood shape. I haven't done hoods that are 3 pieces like this, where normally I just have the seam up the back. I think the general fit is pretty good. I would maybe make it a little wider because I do like oversized hoodies. Let's talk about these fucking sweatpants. I'm not a sweatpants person anyway, and this is a bad shape. I super do not like this cut. It's just not for me. Just not for me, but I learned how to put these rad ass pockets in, and I will definitely be utilizing that method in the future, though I want to tweak it a little bit. I don't know who these would be flattering on. I think the legs need to not taper in like that because they're basically leggings, but they're not fitted enough in the top to be that, and I just don't know what's happening here. What an ensemble, huh? I can't tell you how difficult this was to look at while sewing. It's not even doing it justice on camera, just how aggressive this pink is on the eyeballs. And then yeah, as for this dress, I really like where it's hitting. I like the way that the actual fabric is flowing. I do hate empire waisted things. I kind of want to try tweaking the pattern and make the bodice hit at my natural waist, but that's the joy of getting to practice things, right? I think this could definitely use some pockets. The sleeves are accidentally this short. I just didn't have enough fabric to make them longer, but this is a pretty warm material, even though it's pretty thin for stretch velvet. I can see myself wearing this more at this sleeve length than pretty much anything else. And yeah, it's giving me like real Halloween vibes, and I'm here for that. So that is my experience going through Tilly and the Buttons stretch. I am going to keep the patterns that I copied and play around with them a little bit more. I will burn those sweatpants in hell. Just kidding. I'm going to use them for stuffing for more Bert toys, because that's where all of my fabric goes to dye. And I'll repurpose that drawstring for something else. But yeah, overall, I think this was more successful than the last one, which I'm not at all surprised by. Knits, man, they're super comfortable and really versatile, and you can kind of play around with it more. Where the woven stuff, I also tweaked some of those things after I did the initial marathon sewing session, where I did everything by the book and then just wore it and then like explained how I felt about it. Where these things, you know, the pinafore skirt and even adjusting the hoodie cuffs and stuff, I did it as I was going. So that's also why it took a little longer for me to work through these ones. With the exception of the sweatpants, I'm going to wear every single one of these items. They're going in the laundry and then will be put in my wardrobe. So I hope this was helpful insight. As far as the techniques I tried, I did learn a lot doing this, even though I've used all of these materials before, made similar garments. I've never done a twist like this. I recommend giving it a try because it's much less complicated than you think it is, but it was really, really cool to like see how it came together. And that's the like sewing nerd in me, as I geek out super hard about a lot of this shit. So yeah, my one complaint is like the way she explains quartering. I got what she was saying, but you don't need to measure stuff out, in my opinion. I've shown many times over in videos how I go about quartering, and it just seems easier to explain and also easier to execute. To each their own though. That is the fun of working through something like this, is there are lots of different ways to get to the same end result, and maybe there are ways that I can do it better or faster or just less brain hurty, you know? Fittingly, as far as my Black creator recommendation for this week, Juliet from the Great British Sewing Bee season 5. She started posting YouTube videos recently, and I have been watching them a lot while I have been working through the Tilly book, and Tilly was also on the Great British Sewing Bee. It's kind of coincidental that that's who I was thinking of suggesting for this week, but then I was like, oh, there's like a clear through line here. Look at me trying to put shit together and thinking ahead for once. But she's really great and like clearly knows what the fuck she's doing. I will link to her down below, as well as her Instagram, because I've been following her on there. Interacted a little bit. I really, really like her general style. I didn't know what Ankara fabric was until she used it on the show, and then she's been talking about it. It's been very cool to learn about an entire world of fabric I was unfamiliar with before. As for me, little Bert and I will be back here with another video next Friday. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Oh no. I just flossed and brushed and I used mouthwash. It is a very bad mix.